Welcome everybody, I'm Matt Henke, Professor of Political Science, and we're hosting this semester's Alumni and Residence Program at the College of Liberal Arts. So I want to thank Dr. Dill Downey, the Dean of Liberal Arts, Shelley Blunt, our Provost, and the support for putting this event together. This is an honor when each of our departments have an opportunity to showcase what we're all about, why we're here, and the legacy that stems for this. As a faculty member, this is what we live for. It's to see our graduates go on and do wonderful things. And then if you think about this from students, you're here a short period of time, and then you go out into the world, and then the next generation can build upon that sort of the standing on the shoulders of giants, if you will. And speaking of giants, we have one here who has done a lot of important things, a lot of great things. And he did a lot while he was here as a student, and he's going to share his story with you all of how he got to today. I'll give a little bio. So Brenden is a 2015 graduate of USI. He served as the student trustee in 2013-2015. He's a defense attorney serving on active duty in the U.S. Navy JAG Corps, and it's based in Bremerton, Washington, outside Seattle. After graduating from USI with a degree in political science, he joined the Navy as a surface warfare officer, completing 2 tours of duty on the USS Chancellorsville and USS Delbert Black. In 2021, Brenden left the Navy to pursue his law degree at the George Washington University in Washington, D.C. Law School. He earned his JD in 2024, 2 years ago, and was accepted to the D.C. bar. It's an incredible accomplishment. Last year, he returned to active duty service as a JAG Corps officer and is currently stationed in Bremerton. And in Bremerton, he lives with his wife, Kara, a former CBS News reporter and producer, and their 6-month-old daughter, June. So it's my pleasure to welcome Brenden Davidson.
Thank you so much, Dr. Henke. Thank you for all of you who are here. If I had known there would be this many people coming, I would have made a presentation that didn't look like it was made by a 5th grader. But there's some good pictures out there. For those of you who have already heard me talk today, I apologize ahead of time for repeating myself and repeating some of the jokes that I would probably tell because I always dreamed of moonlighting as a stand-up comic. So I'm going to try that out. No, I'm just kidding. I want to start with a quick story that's going to foreshadow one of the lessons that I learned as I look back at this last 10 years, well, decade plus since I graduated from USI. So I grew up near Bloomington, Indiana, and when I was in junior high, I was home one day alone, which is great being one of 4 kids. It's rare that you're ever home alone. And we got a call on the landline. And I picked up the phone, and it was a recruiter. It was an Air Force recruiter, and he was knocking door to door, trying to get new recruits for the Air Force. And because I don't like confrontation, I politely listened to his spiel. And then he got off the phone, and we got off the phone, and I had the thought in my mind: I don't know what I'm going to do in life, but I know I'm never going to be in the military. I'm never going to be an attorney. So I was wrong. Because I am both in the military and an attorney, we get to start with the fun stuff, right? So I am not appearing here in uniform. I'm not here in my capacity as an active duty Navy officer. I am here as a proud USI alum. Nothing that I say today is any sort of opinion of the DoD, and I don't know why I might accidentally give legal advice. I don't intend to give legal advice, but sometimes legal advice just spills out of it. Okay? So please, this is for your entertainment and informational purposes only. So the agenda, I'm going to start with what I do today, and then I'm going to go back, talk about my time at USI, move forward, and then wrap it up, and hopefully I'm not long-winded. The first question is, what do I do today? Who am I? am Tom Cruise. You see the resemblance? Anybody not seen A Few Good Men in this room? Okay, great. Yeah, so I am an active duty defense attorney for the Navy. I appear in court, just like Tom Cruise. That is the uniform I wear when I appear in court. Do not let this JCPenney suit fool you, or the dad bod, or the outer breaks haircut. Okay? I represent sailors, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen who are charged with violating the Uniform Code of Military Justice. That is my job. It's not the job that I picked. The Navy chose my job for me, and I absolutely love it. Now that I've been doing it for a year, I hope that I can continue doing that into the future. It's challenging, it's rewarding, and it's especially challenging when you don't like the person that is your client. Right? It's challenging when you know that your client is guilty, but you still have to represent him and do it to the best of your abilities. The other, just quickly, if anyone's interested in the military or JAG Corps, there are three major types of jobs in the Navy JAG Corps. Military justice is the type that I do, that's litigation. The second type is legal assistance. So sailors need wills, sailors get married, they get divorced, they need routine legal aid, and we provide that to them at no cost. And speaking of no cost, we also provide them defense services at no cost when they are accused of crimes. And then the third type, which would probably compose the largest part of the Navy JAG Corps, would fall into the category of command services or operational law. So those are the attorneys that are advising the commanders and the operators out in the field when it comes to the law of war, rules of engagement, law of the sea, all that stuff. Okay, now we're going way back. So this is me graduating from USI in 1994. That's not true. That was my mom graduating from USI in 1994 when I was 2 years old. And I put that picture up there because USI means a lot. So, while at USI, I chose political science as my major. I chose that not because I had any definite career plan in mind, but just because I was interested in poli-sci. I had gone to, when I was in high school, I had gone to a symposium that was hosted by Senator Richard Lugar. That sort of sparked a little bit of interest in government. And then the summer before my senior year of high school, I think it's senior year, I went to Hoosier Boys State. If anyone is aware of Hoosier Boys State, was an awesome experience. I can't really recommend it to you because it's for high school students, so if you didn't get to go, I'm sorry. There's a lot of people in this room that, when it comes to USI and helping me along the way, I have to thank, right? So one person who I don't think is in this room is MT, Dr. Morris. She was the first person from poli-sci that I met when I came here. She recommended that I do a double major in poli-sci and philosophy. So I was like, sounds great. And then I tried out philosophy, and it wasn't for me, and so then I dropped it. But thank you, Dr. Morris. Dr. LaRoe, I had as a professor. He was also a faculty instructor for the internship that I did, the legislative internship in Indianapolis, I'm going to talk about a little bit. Dr. Hanka, thank you so much. You were another great professor that I had. You've offered up letters of recommendation for me whenever I called you, even if I hadn't talked to you in the 6 years. Appreciate that. Dr. Armanu, comparative politics. The thing I have to say, and I didn't say this in your classroom, the thing that Dr. A really taught me was that if she asks you a question and the class doesn't know the answer, she is willing to stand there silently and wait until somebody answers. She will not call you out. She will not yell at you. She will not give the answer. She will stand there silently and wait. I never had a professor like that, and well, until I got to law school. So thank you. And then Professor Kincaid, a wonderful human being. You helped me decide to join the Navy. Appreciate that. You also wrote me letters of recommendation on multiple occasions. So thank you so much. Okay, let's talk about the legislative internship briefly. I know probably not everybody in here is interested in government or political science, but I would say probably most of you are. The legislative internship, I did the Senate internship in 2014, and that was the experience that solidified to me that politics and being a politician was not the way I wanted to go. I wanted to do something with the law. I didn't know exactly, but the life cycle of a bill from idea to draft to passage was super cool, and I got so much out of that legislative internship experience. That internship opened the door for me to then that summer intern in Governor Pence's office. That was also a very cool experience, one that I'll never forget. I learned a lot of lessons. That picture is from me from the legislative internship. That was my little kidney bean shaped desk. Do they still have those kidney bean shaped desks?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. What did I else want to talk about with you? Sorry. So, again, my career path was not decided for me when I first came to USI. I came with an idea that I was interested in political science, and I left USI with the plan to join the Navy. And that plan and that change in my goals and my priorities happened very gradually. But it happened because even though I didn't know what I wanted to do, I used that to my advantage, and I just did everything I possibly could, right, while still focusing on academics. So I did Student Government Association, I did Fraternity Life, Honors Program, and because of how involved the poli-sci program and the faculty are here, that led me to doing the internship. I came back and I thought, I want to go to law school, but I don't want to do it right now because I felt burnt out. And could I have done it? Probably, but I just got it in my mind that if I go to law school now, I'm not going to be able to give it my all, and I wanted to use a few years to just do something different, to see the world, to learn a new skill. So I decided I was going to join the Navy. Now, I graduated in May of 2015, and as you see here, I went to Officer Candidate School in October of 2016. Something should stick out to you, which is there's a lot of time that passed between me graduating and finally being accepted and joining the Navy. The thing that happened was I got rejected. MEPS, I don't know what it stands for, Military Entrance Processing something. If you're joining the military, everybody has to go through MEPS, and it's where you get a full physical, they take the blood, everything that oozes from your body, they take it, they test it, and they say, yes, you're good to go, or no, you're not. I, being a rule follower to my core, said I have mild pet allergies, and they decided that that was enough to deny me entrance into the Navy. So then I spent the better part of the next year fighting to prove to them that I could make it, that I was physically fit enough to join the Navy. And so I had to figure out what I was going to do in the meantime. I mean, the shock of rejection was strong, right? I thought I had it all planned out. I thought I knew what I was going to do. And now here I am as a guy with a bachelor's degree with no job, hoping that the military looks at me so I can go off and serve. So what I did in the meantime was a couple things. I was a substitute band teacher at my high school, White River Valley High School, back in Swin City, Indiana. That was a lot of fun. But I think my real claim to fame is I was a dessert specialist at Westside Culver's. And That was really eye-opening for me, because here I was, a college graduate, working with high school students, making $8.50 an hour. It was tough. It was tough to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But hey, sometimes you gotta hustle, you know? Sometimes life is not gonna work out the way that you want it to work out, and all you can do is decide what you're going to do. Like, what are you going to do? How are you going to pivot? And so I was a custard slinging band teacher, and that was my life until finally the Navy agreed with me that I was physically fit to join, and I went off in October. I put in a small video to give you a break from hearing me. This explains what I did in the Navy back in 2017, if it will play. Oops. Maybe it won't play. Well, this one?
Yeah.
Oh, well. It's a really cool video. But I will just tell you what I did. I was a SWO. That stands for Surface Warfare Officer. Anybody in the Navy today who's driving a ship is a SWO, right? A SWO is the type of officer that they are training from day one to be the commanding officer of a warship. You have to be the jack of all trades. You have to understand the engineering plan. You have to understand combat systems. Above all, you have to understand how to take care to safely drive a billion-dollar warship without hitting anything and without getting hit by the enemy. My first tour, I was in Coast Guard Japan. I was a division officer there. I spent about 2,000 hours on the bridge, and the whole time I was working on getting this qualification officer of the deck. I've never seen Star Trek, but the way it's been described to me is like, so Captain Kirk is the captain of the Enterprise, but then Captain Kirk is not always on the bridge, right? So who is on the bridge when Captain Kirk is not on the bridge? The officer of the deck. So that's what I did. It was the blast. It was the best 5 years of my life. I came into the Navy thinking I was going to get certain things out of it. I thought I was going to learn structure. I thought I was going to learn leadership, technical skills, obviously the opportunity to serve, the opportunity to see the world. What I didn't know was that it was also going to expose a lot of faults within me, a lot of weaknesses I had that had never been exposed previously because I was never put in the environment to stress me to the level where I would realize it. I often felt worthless. I was a surface warfare officer. The SWO community is known for being very backstabby because you can probably imagine that there are only so many commanding officers because there's only so many ships. But there are thousands and thousands of surface warfare officers. So all of us are competing against each other to one day become commanding officer of a ship. And so it gets very backstabby. I also learned that I learned how to start at the bottom of the totem pole, technically. So I did not know port from starboard when I joined the Navy. I think I said it during lunch. The longest I'd ever spent on the water before I joined the Navy was a 5-day cruise to the Bahamas over spring break in junior high. So there's a lot of water in these pictures because it turns out SWOs live on the water. So I had to learn how to drive ships. I had to learn how to navigate, and I think that was good for me, to be honest. I think it was good for me to be thrown into a situation where I was probably the worst person at that job and have to figure out how I was going to get better. I also learned about using humor as a superpower. So I think my coping mechanism is humor. When things get stressful, I try to make it funny. I used to say that if you don't know the right answer, at least say something funny. And I still mostly believe that, even though as a lawyer, sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. But I think if you know how to approach a situation, if you can read a room, humor is a great tool to have. I also got to travel the world. And this, in addition to the job that I did, being able to see the world, being able to climb Mount Fuji in Japan, go to Singapore, go to the demilitarized zone between South Korea and North Korea, be able to go to Australia, walk the path of the hobbits in New Zealand, which I did. All that changed me for the better, and I'm so glad I had that opportunity. So my second tour, things got a little bit tough because I had decided that I was going to complete my 5-year obligation and then I was going to leave and go to law school. And that decision was I'm going to leave the Navy and not come back. Right? I did this cool thing. I got to see the world. I got my GI Bill, and I'm going to take the GI Bill and I'm going to go to law school and get a free law degree, and then I'm going to be a lawyer back in Indiana. The problem is that the job that I was assigned to be the navigator on DDG 119, the USS Delbert Black, like Dr. Hank mentioned, which right now is in the Gulf of Oman. When I was assigned to be the navigator of her, she was a pre-commissioned ship. And what that means is the ship was built, but it had never been underway. And when I got there, there was a crew of 200 people who had not been underway on a ship in 3 years. And I'm the navigator. It's my job to make sure that we safely navigate. As my CO said, your job is to keep the bottom wet and the sides gray, and that's it. And I had to figure out how I was going to do that the same time I was studying for the LSAT. And it's not ideal, right? I didn't want it to go this way. But unfortunately, or as fate would have it, that's how it was going to go. And it was, oh, by the way, COVID too. This picture is me coming to the ship at probably 3 or 4 a.m. to study for the LSAT before I had to start work being a navigator and training people how to drive the ship. It worked out. I took the LSAT. I got that score that got me into law school, but this taught me a new level of managing priorities. I included this picture just because I think it's cool because I am a navigator at heart. If you can see, it's dark because it's a bridge, right? And you can kind of see out the windows to the ocean. The cool thing about this picture is that this is a simulator. This is not real. This is how we train our ship drivers and our SLOs to safely navigate a real ship. We do it in a simulator so they don't accidentally crash the ship. So that's just a cool thing. Okay. In 2021, I left the Navy. I got out fully. I was out. And I took my GI Bill and I went to George Washington Law School in DC. And it was there that I had to find myself again. Here I was a 29, 30-year-old 1L in law school, where most of the students were your age. And I had not been in school for 6 years. And that was tough. It was really tough to get back into the grind, to get back into the habit of studying. It took a while. I can't say that I got straight A's in law school, but I got a degree. Living in DC is great. If you have a chance to live in DC, do it. That's my recommendation. There's so much opportunity, both academically and otherwise. For example, this is me playing in our soccer club. Our GW Law Soccer Club is on the National Mall right by the monument. So that was really cool. As I said, I was not planning on coming back in the Navy. What happened was, I was planning on going to law school, getting my law degree, and moving back to Indiana and practicing, small town wills and estates law. And then something happened. I met the woman who I now call my wife in DC, and she said, "I love you, but I'm not going to move to Indiana. You need to figure out what else you're going to do." So I talked to Dean Lisa Schenk, who was a professor at GW Law who was a prior judge on the military Navy Marine Corps Board of Criminal Appeals. I went to her office and I said, hey, I'm a prior military member, what should I do? And she said, you've got to go JAG. And I said, okay. And that's how it happened. I had a contact, somebody that I knew, somebody that I trusted to advise me, and she advised me. When you're in law school, also in the summers, you're expected to do an internship. And so because I was in DC, I had a lot of leeway and latitude to pick an internship, any internship that I wanted. And to illustrate that, my 1L summer, I interned for the National School Boards Association. That is a nonprofit entity that advises public school boards, board of directors, board of trustees on changes in the law. So that year, there was a couple high-profile Supreme Court cases, one that dealt with school choice, another one that dealt with, I was actually out of Washington State. It was a high school football coach who was also a faculty member who was praying on the half-yard line of the football field. And that case ended with the Supreme Court saying you cannot limit the football coach in his expressions of religious freedom. So that was cool. My 2L year, I interned for the Military Commissions Defense Organization. That is the entity under the Department of Defense that represents the alleged terrorists that are housing it. So everybody who is still in Guantanamo Bay, they all have legal counsel provided to them by the United States government. I interned for them. That was a very challenging and rewarding experience. And then my final 3L year, I came back to Indiana, to my hometown, and I interned for a small firm. This is my family. So this slide is meant to demonstrate that kind of what really matters to me today. If you had asked 2015 me what my goals were, I would have told you go into politics, go into government. And if you ask me what my goals are today, my goals are to be a good husband, a good father, to go to work, to do my job, to represent my clients, and to come home and in 14 years retire if I vote. Those are my goals. This is my wife, Kara, and this is our 6-month-old daughter, Jane. This is the most recent picture. This was taken last week. She's a cutie. Okay, so I'm not here to give advice. I'm here to give perspective because I've only been out of undergrad for 10 years. Like, as I was saying this morning, the gentleman who did this last year, the Alumni Residence Program, he graduated from USI in 1994, and I was 2 years old in 1994. So I feel like I'm here in a different capacity. And Dr. Hanke, you've given me a great gift, and that is the gift to condense the last decade of my life into a PowerPoint and allow me to reflect on it. And so these are the things that I took out as some topics of what I've learned. And if you take this as advice, you can, but this is only meant to be tailored to me. Firstly, a conventional career path is not the only way to succeed. Even though I thought I might want to do law school when I joined the Navy, I could have easily stayed as a SWO my whole career. I could have just done 20 years as a SWO. I could have become a CO of a ship. Or I could have just gone straight from USI into law school and then graduated from law school and gone into private practice. And I could be coming here speaking to you today as a person who's been doing X job for the last decade. But I didn't do that. And I still feel successful, even though I didn't have a plan, even though I changed multiple times along the way. I still see my life as it stands now as a success. And that goes to point number 2. My goals changed, and that's okay. So, again, when I came to USI, my interest was in politics. I thought I was going to be a politician. That is not my goal today. I have no desire to ever serve in government in elected office. I like what I do now, and I never thought back at USI that I was going to be an active duty officer as a defense attorney. But I couldn't imagine being anywhere else. That third bullet point, the next best choice is the one that opens the most doors. The next best choice to the optimal choice, right? If you don't have that one choice that is exactly what you want, like this is everything I want and I'm going to do it right now. The next best choice for me, in my experience looking back, is the one that left the most experiences to be had. GW was not my first choice in law school. I didn't get into my first choice of law school, and GW was a backup. I had 3 options, GW and 2 other schools, but I chose GW not only because it was a large program and had a lot of courses, but because it was literally geographically located in a part of the country that a lot of lawyers are. And I didn't know what kind of law I wanted to pursue, and so I thought, I'm going to pick the school where I think gives me the most options when I land on that passion that I eventually landed on. This fourth one, to me, is a simple distinction, but it's meaningful to me. So today, I can't tell you what my purpose in life is, but I don't think about that question. That question doesn't really offer a lot to me. The easy question for me is what gives me purpose, right? My family gives me purpose. My defense clients who rely on me to keep them out of jail, they give me purpose. And my hobbies and interests give me purpose on a daily basis. And that is enough for me. The last one is one that I put under lessons learned, but I'm still learning. Don't miss out on enjoying the present moment by thinking about the future. I have a really bad memory now. There's a lot about USI that I have forgotten. I can't remember a single lesson from Dr. Hanka's class. And that's because I was so focused on what came next. Like I was in the mode of like, I'm just surviving this so I can graduate and then do the next thing. And by doing that, I have robbed myself of a lot of great memories because I just wasn't giving the present moment its proper attention. So, in closing, I did this because I just sort of wanted to see how I've changed physically over the last decade. But in the last decade, I have packed with as much life as I possibly can. I made a lot of mistakes. I spent a lot of time dwelling on things that I couldn't change. But I would not change the last decade for anything. I've been all over the world. I drove billion-dollar warships for a living in the South China Sea. Like, that's crazy that that actually happened. I left that career behind to go to law school, and then when I was in law school, I met my wife, and now I have a family. I'm proud to say that I've lived life to the fullest in this last decade. Each of these pictures represents a different version of me. As I was saying, if you asked 2015 Brenden about his goals, he would give you a completely different answer to what 2026 Brenden would. And they both would give you a different answer to what junior high Brenden would have said when he got off the phone with that Air Force recruiter and said, I don't know what the heck I'm going to do, but I know sure is I'm not going to be a lawyer, I'm not going to join the military. Right? They weren't wrong. Right? They just existed earlier in the timeline, and they didn't know what I know now. And so, if I can offer you a word of advice, it's unfortunately going to be a cliche that you've heard a million times, but it still holds true. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And I sure as heck am proud and grateful to have had the journey that I've had over the last 10 years.